Joining us now to discuss this space is Tai Lopez, president of Retail E-Commerce Ventures. And Tai is a very special guest because Tai's company focuses on taking the names of the brands that we know so well, Pier, DressBarn, right? Those are just a few of the examples, and transforming their businesses into e-commerce focused businesses. Tell me more about this, Tai.
Thanks for having me. So we've put together a portfolio of about 6 brands right now. Like you said, Pier 1, DressBarn, Linens and Things, Franklin Mint, Modell Sporting Goods. And basically our thesis is that, we've been through tough times in the world and the United States, COVID. People are still going to buy, but they're just going to shift their patterns. And this thesis has kind of been borne out over the last 6 months. E-commerce sales are surging. So we took these brands that were beloved, trusted. Pier 1 is a brand that's been around since the 1960s. People have shopped there for multiple generations. Their, grandma, mom, child's all shop there for home decor stuff. And we've shifted it so you can get the same things conveniently, but pretty much we're 100% online. We may open up some brick and mortar eventually, but we're always going to be e-com focused. And I think this is a trend that's was inevitable. It was going to happen anyway. But like I think it was Lenin said, there are years where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where years happen or decades happened. And that's, I think, what happened in the last 24 weeks. The decades of acceleration in how people buy have just kind of come to fruition.
I think it's a exciting concept because they're great places. I loved going into Pier 1, love going into Modell's. I mean, you mentioned DressBarn and Linens and Things. These are mostly bank brands. And how do you navigate through company layoffs, rent to commercial properties that they owe? It's not just saying, hey, sporting goods are really cool and I'm going to take all their stuff and put it on the web or somehow do that. It feels like you're taking what we're struggling, losing companies. Aren't you nervous?
That's a good question. I like when Warren Buffett says, when everybody's confident, you should be nervous. And when everybody's nervous, you should be confident. We're kind of contrarian like that. I think that the brands, when we look and do our due diligence before we buy a brand, and you look through the balance sheet, the P&L, it's obvious that what dragged these companies down was high fixed costs in an uncertain world. In an uncertain world, you want to have variable costs, things that can be turned on and off. And e-com is pretty much all variable. Your marketing, you can turn on and off if there's tough times. But the old school model, brick and mortar, you got to pay that rent. And some of these companies had literally just hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of rent that had to be paid. And every single day, more people buy on Amazon. And now with COVID, people don't want to go out. So I don't think the brands were ever bad. I think how they distributed their products needed to get with the times. That's how I would say it.
Right. So spin it forward for me. People have gotten very comfortable shopping online. And as you know, that's been popular. Do you expect that to really be the way people shop? How are you positioning going forward?
Yeah, I always say, the entrepreneur that really took the risk was Jeff Bezos, 1994. He's like, I think people are going to want to buy online. We're 26 years later. I think that anybody that's betting on brick and mortar is really kind of in the buggy whip business, and they're trying to save something that's going to die. I think, it's interesting. I have a farm in Virginia, and there's a barn on the farm from about 100 years ago. And I found out the backstory that it had been purchased in the late 1800s, early 1900s through a Sears catalog, meaning even 100 years ago, people didn't want to go to a store. They looked through a catalog. They said, I want a barn. Right. They sent a check in, and Sears sent them a barn all taken apart on a train. Wow. So I think human psychology has always gravitated. What's easier? And what is easier? Going in traffic in Los Angeles or New York to Modell's or Pier 1, or just having it conveniently show up like
Right.
Amazon at your front door, you know?
Tai, is there a name that's on your list that you're sort of chomping at the bit? Not that you want them to go bankrupt, but you're already talking to them? Or a sector in the apparel, or what is it?
That we're looking at Steinmart. We may become the stalking horse bidder on Steinmart, fairly, 100-year-old brand, big in the South. That's one. I wouldn't say we ever root for anybody. We don't want to root for people to fail, but Steinmart has gone through the bankruptcy process, and I think that's one we're interested in, and we are actively pursuing right now.